The massive Imperial warship dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. Its golden hull gleamed in the distant sunlight as it began scanning the third planet from the sun. Captain Reed of the Imperial Scout Force stood on his command deck, looking disappointed at the readings on his screen. "Another primitive world," he muttered, watching the scan results. "They haven't even built proper orbital stations yet." His crew continued their standard survey, noting the scattered satellites and small space stations around Earth. To their eyes, it looked like a civilization just beginning to reach for the stars. They saw the International Space Station, a few communication satellites, and what appeared to be primitive defense systems. What they didn't see was watching them back. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a command center carved into the bedrock of the seafloor, Admiral James Walker received the alert. He sat in his chair, calmly reading the report as red lights flashed silently around him. The massive viewing screen showed the Imperial ship in high detail. Details that would have shocked the aliens if they knew humans could see them so clearly. "They've arrived earlier than expected," Walker said to his staff. "Status of the fleet." A young officer named Tom stepped forward. "All ships report ready, sir. The Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Ocean fleets are at full combat readiness. Mountain bases in the Rockies, Andes, and Himalayas report all systems green." Walker nodded, his gray eyes reflecting the light from the screens. For 300 years, humanity had prepared for this moment. While showing the galaxy a primitive face, they had built their true civilization underground and underwater. Every major mountain range and ocean housed massive shipyards and bases. Millions of people worked in these hidden facilities, building and maintaining Earth's real military might. The command center itself was a marvel of engineering. 20 miles beneath the ocean floor, protected by layers of rock and advanced materials, it was just one of dozens of similar facilities around the world. The walls displayed holographic screens showing every part of Earth's defense network. Ships, weapons, and personnel, all hidden from the prying eyes above. "They're launching scanning probes," reported Lisa from her station. She was one of their best sensor operators. Standard Imperial First Contact Protocol. Walker allowed himself a small smile. The Empire followed the same procedure every time they found a new world. They would scan, send probes, then make contact. If the world seemed primitive enough, they would demand submission to Imperial rule. If the world resisted, they would make an example of it. But Earth was different. They had watched the Empire for centuries, studying their technology, their tactics, their weaknesses. Hidden telescopes and quantum sensors spread across the solar system had gathered intelligence on every major galactic power. Earth knew more about the Empire than the Empire knew about itself. "Let them complete their scans," Walker ordered. "They'll only see what we want them to see." The probes descended through Earth's atmosphere, scanning cities and infrastructure. They saw normal human activity: cars, planes, ships. They saw militaries with tanks and jets. Nothing that would concern an interstellar empire. The holographic displays showed the probe locations, carefully tracked by Earth's hidden sensors. None of them came close to detecting the massive caverns under the oceans or the shipyards inside mountains. Earth's stealth technology, developed in secret over centuries, worked perfectly. "Incoming transmission," Tom announced. "They're making contact." Walker straightened in his chair. This was the moment they had prepared for. On the surface, Earth would play its role, a relatively primitive world, new to the galactic scene. But deep underground, the greatest military force humanity had ever built stood ready. "Put them through," Walker said. "Let's welcome the Empire to Earth." The game had begun. Humanity had spent centuries preparing for this moment, building their strength in secret. Now they would see if all that preparation would pay off. The Empire thought they were about to meet a primitive world. Instead, they were about to discover that appearances can be very deceiving. Ambassador Marcus stood tall in the United Nations Assembly Hall, his purple-tinted skin and elaborate golden uniform making him look out of place among the humans. His holographic image towered 20 feet high, projected from a small device on the floor. The gathered world leaders watched in silence as he delivered the Empire's message. "Your world has been granted the privilege of joining the Galactic Empire," he announced, his translator converting his words to Earth's major languages. "Submit within 48 hours or face the consequences of defiance." In the front row, the president of the Global Defense Council fought to keep a straight face. Like everyone else in the room, she knew about the hidden fleets, the secret bases, the true extent of Earth's power. But they had all practiced this moment countless times. They knew their roles. "Ambassador," she said, standing up, "this is quite sudden. Surely we need time to discuss such an important decision." Marcus laughed, the sound echoing through the hall. "Discuss? What is there to discuss? I see your primitive vessels in orbit. Your technology is centuries behind ours. The Empire's smallest patrol fleet could turn your cities to ash." Deep beneath the hall, in a bunker that officially didn't exist, Admiral Walker watched the exchange on his screens. Next to him, General Thomas reviewed the latest fleet positions on a holographic display. "All ships report ready," Thomas said quietly. "Mountain Base 7 reports their doors are operational. Underground Fleet 3 has completed system checks." Walker nodded. The doors he mentioned were actually massive hangar entrances built into mountainsides, carefully hidden by advanced holographic technology. Fleet 3 was just one of 20 similar fleets hidden in massive underground caverns around the world. Back in the assembly hall, Marcus continued his speech. "The Empire brings order to primitive worlds like yours. We will guide you into the modern age. Your resources will serve a greater purpose. Your people will have the honor of working for imperial progress." The Global Council members played their parts perfectly. Some showed fear, others anger. A few tried to argue for better terms. All of this was carefully calculated to maintain the illusion of Earth's weakness. In his bunker, Walker received a message from the deep space monitoring stations hidden throughout the solar system. Imperial reinforcements were arriving, exactly as predicted. The Empire always sent overwhelming force to make examples of worlds that didn't immediately submit. "Status of the lunar base?" Walker asked. "Fully operational," Thomas replied. "All weapons systems are charged and ready. The moon's surface cannons remain undetected." This was humanity's greatest deception. The dark side of the moon housed an entire military complex, built over centuries in absolute secrecy. Its weapons could destroy half the Imperial fleet before they knew what hit them. Ambassador Marcus was growing impatient with Earth's apparent confusion and fear. "You have 48 hours, he announced. "If you do not submit by then, we will demonstrate the price of defiance. The Empire's justice will be swift and absolute." A hologram vanished, leaving the assembly hall in silence. The council members maintained their worried expressions until they were sure the Imperial censors were no longer watching. Then they began moving to their real meeting place, a massive chamber deep underground. Walker left his bunker to join them. As he walked through the hidden tunnels, he thought about humanity's long preparation for this moment. The Empire thought they were dealing with a primitive world of scattered nations. They had no idea they were facing the most unified and prepared civilization in galactic history. "Send the activation codes," he ordered Thomas. "All bases on standby. When the Empire returns to teach us a lesson, we'll give them an education of our own." The next 48 hours would change the galaxy forever. Humanity had hidden its strength for centuries, building an armada in secret while the galaxy ignored them. Now it was time to show the Empire why that had been a very big mistake. The underground shipyard stretched for miles beneath the Rocky Mountains. Giant ships hung from massive supports, their dark hulls gleaming under the artificial lights. Workers in protective suits moved around them like ants, making final adjustments to weapons systems and engines. Admiral Walker stood on an observation platform, watching as the last ships were prepared for battle. Next to him, Dr. Anna Miller, head of Earth's Hidden Technology Division, explained the fleet's capabilities. Each ship can transition from water to space in under 30 seconds, she said, pointing to the nearest vessel. The hull uses smart metal that changes shape for different environments. No other civilization has anything like it. Walker nodded, remembering how long it had taken to develop this technology. While the Empire and other aliens raced to build bigger ships, Earth had focused on making better ones. Every vessel in their fleet could fight in space, air, or water with equal effectiveness. "Show me the stealth systems," he said. They walked to another platform overlooking a different section of the shipyard. Here, technicians were testing the fleet's most important feature, the ability to become completely invisible to all known forms of detection. "Watch this," Anna said, pressing a button on her tablet. The massive warship in front of them slowly disappeared. First its outline became blurry, then transparent, until finally it vanished completely. Even standing right in front of it, Walker could see no trace of the vessel. "Perfect invisibility?" he asked. "Better," Anna smiled. "The system also hides heat, radiation, and gravity signatures. To Imperial sensors, these ships simply don't exist." In another part of the facility, General Thomas was inspecting the ground forces. Rows of mechanical combat suits stood ready, each one capable of fighting in any environment. Like the ships, these had been developed in complete secrecy over many years. "All combat teams report ready," Thomas said into his communicator. "Mountain bases worldwide are prepared for opening sequences." The mountain bases were humanity's masterpiece of deception. From the outside, they looked like normal peaks. But inside, entire sections of the mountains could move aside, revealing massive hangar doors. When the time came, Earth's fleet would literally emerge from the ground itself. Deep under the Pacific Ocean, another part of the fleet was running final checks. These ships were specially designed to burst from the water at high speed, their smart metal hulls adapting instantly from sea to space. Commander Bill, leading the underwater division, watched his crews make final preparations. "Underwater fleet checking in," he reported. "All systems green. Ready to surface on command." The entire operation was a testament to human ingenuity and patience. For 3 centuries, they had hidden their true technological progress from alien observers. Every satellite in orbit was a fake, designed to look primitive. Every space mission had been carefully staged to appear less advanced than it really was. In the main control room, Walker received updates from bases around the world. The moon base reported its hidden weapons were charged and ready. Underground bases from the Himalayas to the Andes confirmed their status. Underwater facilities across every ocean stood prepared. "Time check," Walker called out. 24 hours until the Imperial deadline," Tom responded from his station. Walker looked at the giant screen showing Earth's true military strength. Over 10,000 ships hidden underwater. Another 5,000 in mountain bases, weapons platforms concealed on the Moon and Mars. A defense network that had taken centuries to build in absolute secrecy. "Send the final alert to all commands," he ordered. "When the Empire returns, they expect to find a primitive world ready for conquest. Instead, they'll face the largest ambush in galactic history." The hidden fleet waited silently in its underground and underwater bases. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would learn why you should never judge a civilization by its appearance. The Imperial fleet appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system exactly when the 48-hour deadline expired. 500 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel together, their golden hulls forming a massive wall of metal in space. At their center was the Imperial command ship, twice the size of all others. Ambassador Marcus stood on his command bridge, looking at Earth through the main viewport. "Send the final warning," he ordered. "Let them see our might before we begin." The Imperial fleet moved forward, spreading out in their standard attack formation. Their sensors showed Earth exactly as before. A handful of primitive satellites, a few small space stations, and basic ground defenses. Nothing that could stand against even one Imperial warship, let alone 500. "My lord," one of his officers called out. We're detecting increased radio traffic from the surface. They seem to be panicking. Marcus smiled. This was how it always went. Primitive worlds would resist until they saw real power. Then they would beg for mercy. Show them on the main screen, he ordered. The screen lit up with images from Earth's major cities. People were running through streets, pointing at the sky. Military vehicles moved through the roads. Aircraft took off from bases. All exactly as expected when a primitive world faced its first real space threat. But deep underground, in Earth's hidden command center, Admiral Walker watched the Imperial fleet with very different emotions. They've taken position exactly where we predicted, he said. Status of all forces. Mountain base doors are charged and ready, General Thomas reported. Underwater fleets in position. Moon base weapons locked on target. Walker nodded. The Empire had positioned their fleet in a perfect half-circle above Earth's northern hemisphere. They thought they were being intimidating. Instead, they had placed themselves exactly where Earth's defense plans wanted them. In space, Ambassador Marcus began his final announcement to Earth. Your time has expired. His message boomed across all frequencies. Now witness the price of defying the Empire. The Imperial fleet's weapons powered up, their energy signatures lighting up space. Each ship carried enough firepower to level a city. Together, they could reduce Earth's surface to ash in hours. Sir, another Imperial officer called out. The primitives are trying to launch some kind of defense, detecting multiple missile launches from their surface bases. Marcus laughed. Let them waste their primitive weapons. Our shields can handle anything they have. Prepare to. He never finished the sentence. His sensor officer suddenly shouted in alarm. My lord, energy readings are spiking across the planet's surface. In the hidden command center, Walker gave the order they had waited centuries to give. All forces, execute Operation Rising Thunder. On the Imperial command ship screens, the surface of Earth seemed to come alive. Massive doors appeared in mountain sides as advanced holographic camouflage switched off. The oceans began to churn as huge shapes rose from below. The dark side of the moon lit up with previously invisible weapon platforms. Impossible, Marcus shouted. Where did they? His words were cut off as the first wave of Earth's true weapons hit the Imperial fleet. Quantum-tipped missiles that ignored shields completely. Energy beams from the moon base that cut through Imperial armor like paper. And everywhere, ships, thousands of ships, rising from Earth's oceans and mountains. All ships, combat formation. Marcus screamed, but it was too late. His fleet was positioned for an attack, not defense. They had bunched together to look impressive, making themselves perfect targets. Walker watched from his command center as Earth's hidden power was finally revealed. Send word to all ships, he ordered. Operation Rising Thunder is in full effect. Show the Empire exactly what they've walked into. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and the Empire was about to learn the greatest military lesson in history. Never assume that a quiet civilization is a helpless one. The ocean's surface broke in 1,000 places as Earth's underwater fleet rose into the air. Water cascaded off their dark hulls as the ships transformed, their smart metal structures shifting from submarine mode to space combat configuration. Commander Bill led the Pacific Fleet upward, his ships moving in perfect formation. Pacific Fleet engaged, he reported. All weapons free. Across the planet, mountainsides split open as hidden doors revealed their secrets. Ships poured out of the Rockies, the Andes, and the Himalayas. The sound was deafening as thousands of engines ignited at once, filling the sky with Earth's hidden might. In orbit, Ambassador Marcus watched in horror as his carefully planned attack turned into a nightmare. Impossible, he shouted as his tactical display showed more and more Earth ships appearing. Where are they all coming from? The answer came in the form of weapons fire. Earth's ships didn't use the standard energy weapons the Empire relied on. Instead, they fired special missiles that passed right through Imperial shields as if they weren't there. Each hit caused massive damage to the Golden Imperial ships. "My lord," his tactical officer screamed, "we're detecting weapons fire from the moon." The moon base had dropped its camouflage, revealing massive gun batteries across its surface. Energy beams lanced out from the lunar surface, catching several Imperial ships in devastating crossfire. The Empire's mighty fleet found itself caught between attacks from above and below. In Earth's command center, Admiral Walker coordinated the assault. Mountain Base 7, target their left flank. Underwater Fleet 2, take out their support ships. Moon Base, keep their center pinned down. The Empire's formations broke apart as they tried to deal with attacks coming from all directions. Their ships had never faced weapons that could ignore their shields. They had never fought vessels that could appear from underwater or inside mountains. Everything they knew about warfare was being proven wrong. "Look at their tactics," General Thomas said, watching the battle displays. "They don't know how to fight when they don't have shield advantage." He was right. The Imperial ships tried to maintain their standard battle formations, but these were useless against Earth's strategy. Earth's ships moved in ways the Empire had never seen, using their ability to operate in both air and space to full advantage. Commander Bill's Pacific Fleet demonstrated this perfectly. His ships would dive back into the ocean to avoid Imperial fire, then burst out of the waves at unexpected angles to launch attacks. The Empire couldn't predict where the next strike would come from. "Status report," Walker called out. "Imperial fleet losses at 40%. Tom responded from his station. "Our losses under 5%. Moonbase reports all weapons functioning at full power. Mountain bases continuing to launch reserve forces." On his command ship, Ambassador Marcus watched his fleet being torn apart. The Earth ships were everywhere, their dark hulls almost impossible to track on sensors. Every time his forces thought they had them cornered, more ships would rise from the oceans or emerge from mountain bases. "Fall back," he ordered. "All ships, emergency retreat." But Earth had planned for this too. Hidden platforms around the planet activated, creating a field that prevented faster-than-light travel. The Imperial fleet was trapped. "Send the message," Walker ordered. "Let them know their options." Across all frequencies, Earth broadcast its terms: immediate surrender or complete destruction. The Empire had started this battle expecting to crush a primitive world. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant that had spent centuries preparing for this exact moment. "We spent 300 years getting ready for this day," Walker said quietly. "Time to show them why." The battle continued across Earth's orbit, as humanity demonstrated exactly why appearances can be deceiving. The space around Earth had turned into a graveyard of Imperial ships. Their once proud golden hulls now floated in pieces, broken by weapons they had never imagined possible. Ambassador Marcus stood on his failing command bridge, watching more of his fleet fall with each passing minute. "Status report," he demanded, though he already knew the answer. "My lord, we've lost 60% of the fleet," his officer replied, voice shaking. "Their weapons, they go right through our best shields. We can't stop them." Another explosion rocked the command ship. Through the viewport, Marcus watched as 3 more Imperial vessels were cut apart by beams from the moon base. The entire battle had become a nightmare of impossible technology and overwhelming force. In Earth's command center, Admiral Walker studied the tactical display with satisfaction. The battle was proceeding exactly as their simulations had predicted. 3 centuries of preparation were paying off perfectly. Mountain Base 9 reports final wave of ships launched. General Thomas announced. "All reserve forces are now engaged." The Empire's remaining ships had clustered together in a defensive sphere, trying to protect themselves from attacks coming from all directions. It was a classic Imperial tactic, and exactly what Earth had planned for. "Execute Phase 3, Walker ordered. Commander Bill's voice came over the command channel. "Understood." Underwater fleet moving into position. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. Earth's ships, which had been harrying the Imperial fleet from all sides, suddenly pulled back. The Empire's commanders had just enough time to feel relief before the trap closed. From the oceans below, massive shapes emerged. These weren't warships. They were entire underwater bases, rising on enormous anti-gravity platforms. Each one was bristling with weapons that made their previous attacks look mild in comparison. By the first Emperor, Marcus whispered as he saw the platforms rise. "What are they?" Earth had saved its biggest surprise for last. The platforms were actually mobile fortress cities, each one capable of housing millions of people. They were humanity's ultimate backup plan. If the surface was ever threatened, these cities could rise and fight. "All platforms in position," Il reported. "Targeting systems locked." Walker looked at the tactical display one last time. The Imperial fleet was completely surrounded, ships above, platforms below, and the moon base's weapons cutting off any escape route. "Send the final warning," he ordered. On every Imperial ship, screens came to life with Walker's message. "Your fleet is trapped. Your weapons are useless. Surrender now, and we will spare your lives. Continue fighting, and we will destroy every ship." Marcus stared at the message, his pride warring with reality. Another explosion rocked his ship, as if to emphasize the point. Through his viewport, he could see Earth's true power displayed in all its glory. Thousands of advanced ships, massive floating fortresses, and weapons that made Imperial technology look primitive. "How?" he asked quietly. "How did we not see this?" The answer was simple, though it would haunt the Empire for generations to come. They had seen exactly what Earth wanted them to see. While they dismissed the quiet, seemingly primitive planet, humanity had built the most powerful military force in the galaxy. "My lord," his second-in-command said quietly, "we must make a decision. The Earth forces are waiting." Marcus looked one last time at his broken fleet. The mighty Imperial Armada, pride of the galaxy, reduced to scattered wreckage by a world they had thought primitive. The choice was clear, even if it hurt his pride to make it. "Send the signal," he ordered. "We surrender." In Earth's command center, Walker nodded as the surrender message came through. "All forces hold position," he ordered. "The battle for Earth is over." But everyone knew this was really just the beginning. The galaxy was about to change forever. 1 week after the battle, Ambassador Marcus stood in a very different United Nations Assembly Hall than before. The holographic projector was gone. He was here in person now, along with representatives from 20 other major galactic powers. They had all come to see the world that had defeated the Imperial fleet. Admiral Walker led the Earth delegation, wearing his formal uniform for the first time in public. The time for hiding was over. Behind him, the massive window showed the truth about Earth's power. Dozens of advanced ships hovering in plain sight, their dark hulls gleaming in the sunlight. "Let the record show," Walker began, "that Earth is now officially revealing its true technological status to the galaxy." The alien representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Many of them had also been planning to help guide Earth into the modern age. Now they sat in shocked silence as Walker activated a holographic display showing Earth's full military might. "For 300 years, he continued, "we watched the galaxy. We learned. We prepared. While you saw our primitive satellites and basic space stations, our real civilization grew in secret." The display showed the true scale of Earth's achievement. Massive underwater cities, mountain bases that could house millions, shipyards that stretched for miles underground. It was the greatest deception in galactic history. But how? Marcus finally asked. Our best scouts saw nothing of this. Dr. Anna Miller stepped forward, holding a small device. "This is why," she said, activating it. Suddenly, half the room seemed to vanish, replaced by what looked like an empty space. When she turned it off, everyone reappeared. "Advanced holographic technology," she explained, "combined with gravity masking, heat signature control, and quantum stealth systems. We didn't just hide our ships, we hid entire cities. The alien representatives began talking all at once. Some demanded immediate sharing of the technology. Others wanted to form alliances. A few even tried to make threats, but quickly fell silent when they remembered what had happened to the Imperial fleet. Earth is not interested in conquest, Walker announced, bringing order to the room. But we will not be conquered either. We propose a new relationship with the galaxy, one based on mutual respect and peaceful cooperation. Marcus stood up slowly. As the Empire's representative, his next words would be crucial. The Empire, he paused, choosing his words carefully, recognizes Earth as a major power. We seek peaceful relations, and, he swallowed hard, apologize for our previous misunderstanding. Walker nodded. This was exactly what they had hoped for. Earth didn't want to rule a galaxy. They just wanted to make sure no one could threaten their home. Let this be a new beginning, Walker said. Earth will share some of its technological advances. In return, we ask for full recognition of our sovereignty and our right to maintain our defenses. The agreement was signed within hours. Earth would keep its military strength, but would also become a center for technological and scientific advancement. Their ships would help patrol trading routes, their medical technology would save lives across the galaxy, and their stealth systems would help protect other peaceful worlds. As the alien representatives left to report to their governments, Marcus stayed behind to speak with Walker. You know, he said quietly, the galaxy will never be the same after this. Walker smiled. That was the plan all along. Sometimes, the quietest worlds have the most to offer, if you give them the chance to reveal it in their own time. Above them, Earth's ships continued their patrols, no longer hiding their presence. The planet's long deception was over, but its greatest adventures were just beginning. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not through conquest, but through patience, preparation, and the wisdom to wait for the right moment. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Never underestimate a world that seems quiet. Sometimes, the most powerful civilizations are the ones that don't feel the need to show off their strength until they have to.